So I'm just taking a little minute to do a little check-in. My eyes are a little bit low, and not for any medicinal inhalant purposes, but just I have been in bed for like 2 days fighting these spiritual attacks, these ascensions, these whatever it is that I'm going through. Um, just a little bit of an update on my spiritual journey because I haven't really been posting very much because it's been brutal. I honestly wish it was something that could be diagnosed because I think it would make my life a lot easier. But yeah, I'm getting little tidbits of information here and there. And like I say, and I think it just might be a little bit of ego over anything else. A little bit of ego, a little bit of when I say ego, like the true definition of ego, not just like ego, like, ooh, I think so highly of myself, but ego in that whenever I say that I don't really know what's going on with me, and I like try to clarify that it's kind of like I do know, but I don't know, it's because I do know, but I don't know. So I understand that I am definitely under spiritual attack, but I also do understand that I'm going through ascension, and I know that there's certain things that I might not just get answers to, and there's certain things that I might have to, get answers in a specific way or whatever it might be. But it's just I guess I'm still fighting with the logic versus the spiritual side of myself. Like I'm constantly thinking about the logical, practical, reasonable, what's the solution versus that it's just something you have to go through. Because for example, if you get like a diagnosis of something, then you know what you need to do. Like it's either this is the end, you're working towards the end, or eat differently, do something differently, or whatever. But in this case, it's not so cut and dry. So that's kind of like where I'm like, what is this? What's the answer? What am I supposed to do? So I've gotten like little tips of things here and there that I've kind of somewhat shared, and not in so much detail, but enough. And a lot of things I've tried, all of those to exhaustion in the past. And I actually, that was part of the reason that I ended up in the situation that I was with, because, yeah, when you deal with spiritual attacks, basically the lower vibing you are, the easier it is for you to be attacked. It's not to say that you can't get attacked in any other way, but with my situation, it's something that had been working on me from the outside, working its way in for a long time, like for at least 3 years that I can remember, because weird things were happening around me and I just kept kind of dismissing it because little odd things and setbacks and things have been happening all my life. For me, with the people that I've been around, I've had like the majority of those types of issues. But in the last couple of years, it's been very like personal, where it's like I'm going to a store or standing in line somewhere, and it's like weird things are happening. There's always some kind of delay or something that's only happening to me, out of everybody else, and it's just like, damn. And it's kind of like it wears on you, wears on you, wears on you till you're kind of like weakened, feeling defeated, feeling just beat down. And then that's where spiritually you can, whatever it is, can just worm its way in. And at that point it's like, okay, now you're kind of dealing with it on a different level, other than finding peace inside your home. It's like now it's inside your home, or now it's connected to you. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what's the solution? But I don't think that there's like a one, you know like kind of like if it was medicine, like a one pill solution. It's not like a one answer kind of solution. It's something you have to work through. But um one of the people that I had referenced before, that goes by Intuitive 144, she has a YouTube channel, and she went live the other day, and I had the opportunity to ask her a question that I was hoping that she'd have the answer for, because she referenced having a spiritual teacher. And she just basically said, yeah, I don't know how to go about that. You probably just have to, like, Google it or something like that. So I was just like, at the moment, and this is a part of the spiritual attack, I could not think of how to word the question. And there was so much going on and so many projections that were distracting me that I could not, clear my mind enough to be like, how do I ask this question? What I should have basically said to her is like, I've heard you reference your spiritual teacher. How did you find them? Because she had talked about from the very beginning, like sharing her journey about how, disruptive her gifts were in her life. And, she thought about committing herself to like a psych ward and all kinds of stuff like that. Like she just was tormented. And it's kind of like I've been through the same feelings as well, where it's just kind of like it's like too much, you know? So now she seems to be very much under control. But even in watching some of her old videos, it's kind of like I could, from the outside looking in, see where there were a little, there were a few things where she could have helped her, not helped herself, where I could have seen what kind of help she could have used at that time. And I don't know how she made it through on her own in that way, or how she found her spiritual teacher, because she started referencing this spiritual teacher. And I literally thought that she was talking about an actual like spirit guide. So I was like, okay, does she mean that's actually like a human or a spirit that she's talking to? Because her spiritual interactions like will be ones in which when she's doing a reading, it'll be like, hold on, they're talking to me right now, which I don't have that, like my gifts are not at that level, and I don't really want them to be. It's already, increased to the point where it's like, instead of getting one or two words or nudges or, things like that, it's like full blown sentences and stuff like that. So sometimes that can be a little bit intrusive. But yeah, I was really hoping that there was some things that she could answer for me. I mean, she kind of inadvertently answered some other questions that I had, but just in terms of like wanting to get that answer, and then even thinking about getting a personal reading from her, I don't think now that that would really answer the question, because she shared a lot about what her personal beliefs are. And I feel as though, I mean, it's worth a shot. She can probably read what's in my energy better than probably a lot of people I've come across. But I just felt like, based on what she said and her beliefs are, I don't think that if I prefaced what my concerns are to her, because generally she doesn't really want to know anything. That's how she says that she works. She works in a way where it's like, she says the less that she knows, the better. So kind of just going in there free and just seeing whatever she picks up, which is fair enough. But because my not really wanting control over the situation, but me really wanting to know, like, what is this exactly, you know? So I know that what I am pushing away is not something that I need to be accepting, and not knowing that I need to be accepting it, and trying to, like, for argument's sake, like rebuke it, and then, maybe accepting something that I should not be accepting, because everything kind of feels the same. And I think that that's kind of the way that the situation has kind of worked itself to be able to effectively attack me, because it's kind of like, how do I word this? So if something, let's say for example, is giving you pain, and you're praying and that, the pain will stop, or that there's a solution for the pain, but the pain is actually being used as a way to say, okay, well, if, kind of like a little, yeah, we'll say cheat code. So kind of like a little cheat code, like if you are asking for help during this time when you're supposed to be figuring it out on your own, and then it's going to come with a little bit of pain. So what if I keep pushing that pain away, but that pain is going to come with the answer? So I've had like these instances like that where I don't know if I'm pushing away something that is actually giving me answers or not. Um, the last 2 days, like I've been like laid out in bed, and a couple of things have happened where there have been instances where I was feeling a lot of discomfort, and I was getting a lot of like channeled messages about what to do prior to something happening. And I wasn't listening to it because it was accompanied by a lot of discomfort and pain. And I was just like, no, no, no. And then it ended up that that's actually what I needed. So it's kind of like that doesn't fully answer the question, because the negative stuff comes with the pain as well, but I just don't know which is which. So it's almost like pick your poison, for argument's sake. It's like you have two shot glasses and you don't know what's in either shot glass. And there could be, someone could say, hey, drink this one and it'll make you feel better. But then you know that the other one comes with poison in it, but you don't know which one's which. I just said drink this one, but let's just say they look identical and you don't know which one's which. Or someone does a switch of the hand and it's like, okay, pick one of them has poison, one of them doesn't. So it's kind of like it's coming to me in the same shape, form, smell, touch, taste, but I don't know which one is the right one and which one is not until after the fact. So that's what's really challenging for me. And that's kind of like what I want to get down to the bottom of, like, what are the attacks and what is actually not an attack. But I think that's all part of, the journey, essentially, that it's not for me to be able to distinguish one from the other. And I think it might just be something I have to go through, which leads me to something I was thinking about the other day. It was a reoccurring dream that I used to have I don't even remember how old I was when I was having these dreams because it happened for like maybe about a month straight. And then subsequent to that, whenever I would have these dreams, I used to always look them up. Because I used to have dreams that I was fighting the devil a lot. This was before, um, excuse me. Like I always felt that, I was just intuitive or perceptive at a high level, but I never thought that I had spiritual gifts. And just, my parents coming from, small islands, and you know how those things can really work out. People tend to stick to old traditions and thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that. So I used to hear a lot of ghost stories, and those ghost stories weren't fake. They were real stories. And I always used to just pray to God that, none of those things would ever happen to me. That I acknowledge, and I would literally say it to God like that. Like, I acknowledge the fact that there are things that are around me that I can't see. And I just pray that none of my senses ever detect them. And I prayed that literally faithfully for years, since I was a kid. And, who knew? Maybe my higher self was trying to communicate to me, or maybe my guides were trying to communicate to me that this is coming. Or maybe I knew, maybe it was like some kind of soul recall, or a soul contract recall that's like, okay, something's coming that you don't want. And it's like, oh, no, 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 I changed my mind, I changed my mind. So I have no idea. But I used to have these reoccurring dreams. And usually there's this thing that's called Dream Dictionary, and I looked it up. And whenever I would have like any kind of dream, I would look it up through Dream Dictionary. And it would always be like just nail on the head with what it was, right down to, like, let's just say it was like a red car in a parking lot in a desert. I would look up, like, there might not be something like completely, that relates to that exact scenario, but because it's a dictionary, excuse me, that's another thing that's been happening. It's like little things, it's kind of mimicking different sensations on my body. So it'll feel like my strap is moving down, but it's not really moving down. And then I'll go reach for it and, kind of do a little embarrassing stuff. And then it's like, there's nothing there. So anyway, yeah, so I would look up each individual thing. So I would look up, let's say, the color red, then I'd look up car, then I'd look up desert, I'd look up parking lot. And putting it all together, it was exactly what was happening in my life. Sometimes you would look up car and it might say, okay, if you see a green car, if you see a parked car, if you see a car moving and then it stops, like, it gets into that much detail. So I'm doing like a lot of promoting on my channel of different people and different places and things. Hopefully that can translate to some money someday, sooner than I expect. But yeah, back to the story. So the reoccurring dream I would have would be of fighting the devil. And before I get into how I feel that relates to my spiritual attacks, was that um, I was whenever I would have a dream that I was fighting the devil, when I looked it up, it said that it's because in your waking life, there's something that you need to say and you're not saying it. And that was exactly the case, because at that time I had a roommate. I just moved out. I moved away from home in a rush. So I just wasn't getting along with my family at the time. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I moved in with somebody I didn't really know very well. And it was my first office job, and the whole nine. And I was still young, like not that far from high school, and it was just a long story. But anyway, yeah, I just had problems communicating with that person that I was rooming with. And I just would have these dreams that I was fighting the devil, but like my voice couldn't be heard. So eventually it came to the point that I started having these dreams about me actually fighting the devil, but I would be fighting the devil with my family. And it was mainly females that I can remember behind me. And I've heard that usually with spiritual gifts, if it's something that runs in your bloodline, it usually tends to run through the women in the family. My eyes even kind of look bloodshot. I'm so tired. After sleeping for 2 days, it's still not enough, because as soon as I get up, I've just been drained. I've been like spun around like you wouldn't believe. It's not even vertigo anymore. I can't even describe what it is. It's like literally like someone has you in like a washer or a dryer, and you're just like, your brain is just spinning, spinning, spinning constantly. So it's crazy. I tried a little like tincture, a little kind of concoction that I was advised through a reading or a reader to use on my forehead, like on my third eye. And let me tell you, whatever's attacking me got very, very angry about that and was just projecting all kinds of weird things on me, not just like images, but physical inflictions of violence on me. So I was just like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. So yeah. But how that ties into um, the dreams that I was having when I was younger about the devil was that, without going into too much detail and making this too long, I was always at the forefront of everyone and like literally having my arms holding everybody back. And I'd be like screaming Bible scriptures and stuff. And it was weird because everybody in my family, at least the women, not to say that the men don't, because my father, as far as I know as well, like faithfully goes to church, but it was just mainly the women that I can remember being around me. And like my mother, my grandmother, stuff like that. And like it was just like a horde of people behind me. Um, like I like a sea of people. So I don't know if like that means just like generations or ancestors or whatever, but the people that were closest to me were, more immediate family that I could recognize. But I just knew that the people behind me were relatives. And especially my mother, like she knows the Bible front, back, upside down. She could recite it. Probably, I think I even mentioned this as like a reference somewhere, that it kind of reminds me of like Book of Eli, where you don't realize, like, spoiler alert, you don't realize that he is blind in the movie, and it turned like he's always reading the Bible, and then it turned out that is because he had the last Bible, and I guess it was taken from him, but he committed it to memory because he was reading it constantly, and he was able to recite the Bible so they could, restore, I guess, God into the earth. So yeah, it was like, why me? That is kind of, the baby trying to hold back my relatives and fight everybody on behalf of my relatives. Like, no, 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 I know the scriptures, I know this. I don't even know how I knew what I was saying or if it even made any sense, but in the dreams it did. And I just went through a process where I kept getting stronger and less afraid. And eventually the devil just kind of wouldn't even come anymore. It's kind of like as soon as the energies that I would feel or the things that were happening around that would indicate that the devil was coming, it's like it started to come. And then one day it just like was kind of showing up, and then the energy just retreated. And I never had that dream again in my life. So I don't know if that was foreshadowing what was going to happen now, like if I'm breaking generational curses, as they call them, and I'm just the one to take the blow. Like, I have no idea. So, and I, unfortunately, it's a long story, but I can't really even, kind of check with family about that. I have to try and, find a way to connect to extended family and see what information I can find out about that. But anyway, that's essentially what's been going on with me spiritually, with the spiritual attack, still dealing with that. And hopefully it comes to an end soon. I keep trying to be obedient with what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And, they want me to, my spirit guides want me to get back into giving readings and things like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I have a couple of pickup piles. I said I'm going to go live, do some collective readings, and get into what I really want to get into as well. Fashion, arts, entertainment, things like that. So yeah, that's just the update for now. So until next time, it's the cheat code.